my charisma is not good anymore.
What makes you say that?
So I went out to and this isn't the only thing, but the spa just opened back up. And I went in and they're like, hey, how are you guys? And they know us because we go a lot and we've been friendly in the past. And I felt myself torn between what I felt at the beginning of my charisma journey, which is my, I think, natural proclivity towards introversion and a complete and total understanding of what it would take to make this a special interaction.
Yeah.
And I am just
Wait, what was the other side? So you said I felt two things.
Oh, no, it was my natural introversion and the understanding of exactly what I could do.
Oh, got it.
To make this like an interaction where they really liked me and handed me a bunch of free guest passes and like high-fived me and hugged it out. Like,
you're good, dude. I already have a bunch of free guest passes.
I know. Well, this is what I'm doing is I'm just like, I am consistently, even though I know what to do, I am choosing introversion. I'm choosing it all the time, everywhere I go. And I don't think that's a problem necessarily, but it does as I go and I'm thinking about like what content to make. I am increasingly on the side of understanding charisma as a study that I did back in the day. And there was a time when it was like, I had new stories. I was like, that reminds me of this thing that happened this week. You know, I came into this situation and I handled it this way. And here's just the added color that I've learned this week. And I'm not inspired to change. I don't want to. I feel like I've done that journey and I've gotten to our first conversation. Like, I don't feel that there's more for me to necessarily get out of it. And I like being introverted and I'm not rude to these people at all. Like, they're more happy to see us, I think, than most other people. And I am polite and kind of friendly, but yeah, I don't have the same bug that we had where we had to crack everything. And as you're making the videos now, I'm curious if you find yourself saying things that you already know or making new discoveries that from your life that you are including in the videos.
No, it's almost all stuff that I already know. I mean, the other tough thing though is like, so I started trying to study charisma at age 19, 14 years ago. I mean, there's to some extent, it's like, how much more novel stuff could I find? Like, I could find a nuance on it. You know what I mean? I could find a new wrinkle to something we've already said. But I do feel like most of the discoveries come early into a exploration of a topic. So like when I was first studying charisma, it was mind-blowing that having an argument was bad or that sarcasm could hurt someone. Like the basic shit that most people already knew. And then after 4 years in, I was getting to new territory of, I haven't found this in a book before. But when you're 13 years in or 14 years in, I don't know that there's going to even be that much novel.
But you also will regress, I'm sure. You know what I mean? Like there's, in the same way that like when your cells replicate, like they copy things incorrectly and get a little bit older. I know that that's happening within me to a degree because I'm not sharpening it against real world encounters in the same way that I was.
Sure. But I also think as you you start to answer questions that aren't even helpful to answer.
That's
so like
how I feel. That's how I feel. If you're starting to play basketball, for instance, you're like, oh, we're going to go through a tutorial. You don't need to ask the MVP of the NBA, Nikola Jokic, what do you do when you Euro step and then you pump fake and they bite on the pump fake and now you have to do a reverse? Like, how much spin do you put on the ball? It's like, yeah, let's not worry about that. Let's worry about how to do a Euro step. And so there's this sense of like, yeah, at one point we wrote an article on how to date multiple people at once. And no one cared because that's not the question they were asking. They were asking, how do I get this one person I like to like me? And so I don't know, even if you had the bug, I don't know how much new stuff you would be discovering today versus just relearning a lesson you learned 5 years ago. Well, I think there was new stuff. For instance, like I think I could learn. There was always areas where I wasn't the perfect person, obviously. But like I had friends that even at my peak were better storytellers than me. Like I could break down how to tell a story, but it was not an element of charisma that I leaned on as heavily as other friends of ours who were just storytelling gene people. Like Tom Holland always wants to tell a story, and there's other people out there. I would lean more in the realm of joking, building fake worlds, and then values.
Yeah, improv, more improv comedy.
More improv and then more values. And so I could be like, oh, I'm going to go back and I am going to make sure that not only do I recognize the storytelling skills, which I can see and break down, but I internalize them. And maybe I learned something that I didn't know about the internalization of those skills.
Yeah, I guess the question is, so like the motive initially wasn't to master charisma.
I know, this is...
It was an outcome. It was to improve your dating life, get friends, and like, I don't want to put you on blast, but you have an enviable dating life. You don't lack for friends. So I don't know, like, to what end to try to get your 10 out of 10 storytelling when you can just rely on improv and value connection.
Well, that is the value, and that's the positive in my life. And also I just am trying to recognize, like, I think you are still, and I can still make videos from memory that have value to an audience. But
what I'm saying is you can also just lean on your strengths for, like, if you don't, like, if you
mean personally.
No, in content, if you say, listen, I don't know how to answer a question that audiences have asked, right? Like how to be charismatic on a Zoom call. I would have to study it, and I'd have to go out in my own life.
This is a great example.
So I won't make a video on that, but I'll make a video on something else that I do feel like I have, I don't know what to say, topic mastery on.
So just to underscore what you've said, how to be charismatic on a Zoom call. I've never had a problem on a Zoom call. I've never been the guy who, was on Zoom masturbating. And I don't think I've ever ruined a friendship, and I'm generally like enjoy myself, and it seems the people that I speak to as well. But I never sat down with the same rigor.
You never studied it.
And was like, these first seconds are a bit awkward when people join. Like, what is the best joining sentence that I've ever heard anyone say? And can I break it down, and can I use it myself? So when people are like, can you do a video on how to do a good Zoom call? We've refrained because I just haven't put that effort in. So yes, I can lean on the things, but I guess I feel like I've answered the most important, interesting questions that I also have good answers to in my videos, which is why I stopped.
Sure.
And I'm sure that you're feeling that.
Well, the tough part is to not be repetitive because...
Well, this is what I'm saying. Because you are not... If you were innovating, you would have interesting things to say. Now, it might not be every week, but once a month, you would come across a new thing.
I also think to some extent there just are core principles that work for everybody. So like, I mean, yeah, you have an NBA player like Sean Marion who shoots funny and it works for him. But for most people, when you're teaching them a jump shot, it's like, you keep your elbow in, you put your feet here. And so it's like, okay, well, if you're breaking down all the best shooters in history, first of all, you probably want to exclude the ones that shoot oddly because it's not useful. And so in that case, every video will have a different person, but the same shooting motion or similar shooting motions.
Well, I guess the analogy would be, okay, so shooting is the most important question in the NBA, and then dribbling is also a really important question, and defending is a really important question. But I think that there are some questions that remain, like how do I recover from a bad first impression? How do I be charismatic on a Zoom call? There are probably a medium-sized list of those still potentially interesting questions that we have not focused on as intently.
Yeah, if I don't know the answer to it, then I won't make a video on it.
Exactly. And so I guess what I'm saying is, I think you could still make videos, and I've made videos that I think were, for me, basic, that for an audience were
you've gone
really,
to the
really
things
useful.
you are interested in, like OnlyFans.
Yeah, I went and made an OnlyFans video.
Exactly. Things you have experience with.
I haven't logged back in, for all those who are wondering. I canceled that account. It for me was not interesting. It was interesting in the psychology behind it, but as a customer, well, not for me. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.